The sea cook. The tar's duties included cooking for the ship's company. He was not exactly a chef who would bring credit to a first-class club or restaurant, but for some time after he joined the Vital Spark, there was no occasion to complain of him. Quite often he would wash the breakfast cups to have them clean for tea in the evening, and it was only when in a great hurry he dried plates with the ship's towel. But as time passed and he found his shipmates not very particular about what they ate, he grew a little careless. For instance, Parahandy was one day very much annoyed to see the tar carry forward the potatoes for dinner in his cap. "That's a droll way to carry potatoes, Colin," he said mildly. "Ah, they'll do no harm. It's only an old cap anyway," said the tar. "Catch me using my other cap for potatoes." "It was not exactly your cape I was put aboot for," said the captain. "It was just running in my mind that maybe some sort of a dish would be neater and genteeler. I'm no complaining, mind you, I'm just mentioning it." "Holy smoke," said the tar, "you're getting to be awful polite with your plates for potatoes, and them no peeled." But the want of variety in the tar's cooking grew worse and worse each voyage, and finally created a feeling of great annoyance to the crew. It was always essence of coffee and herring, fresh, salt, kippered, or red, for breakfast, sausages or stewed steak and potatoes for dinner, and a special treat in the shape of ham and eggs for Sundays. One unlucky day for the others of the crew, however, he discovered the convenience of tinned corned beef, and would feed them on that for dinner 3 or 4 days a week. Of course, they commented on this prevalence of tinned food, which the engineer with some humour always called malleable mule, but the tar had any number of reasons ready for its presence on the midday board. "Sorry, boys," he would say affably, "but this is the devil of a place. No a bit of butcher meat to be got in till Wednesday, when it comes with the boat from Glasgow. Or, the fire went out on me, chaps, just when I was making a fine thing. Oh, wait you till Saturday, and we'll have something rare." "Aye, aye, live, old horse, and you'll get corn," the captain would say under these circumstances, as he artistically carved the wedge of American meat. "It's a mercy to get anything back in your plate, Doogie." It became at last unbearable, and while the tar was ashore one day in Tarbert buying bottled coffee and tinned meat in bulk, a conference between the captain, the engineer, and the mate took place. "I'm no going to put up with it any longer," said the engineer emphatically. "It's all very well for them that has no thinking to do with their heads to eat tinned mule even on, but an engineer that's thinking about his engines all the time, and sweating down in a temperature of 120, needs to keep his strength up." "What sort of head work are you talking about?" said the captain. "Is it reading your penny novels? Who's Lady Fitzgerald's man getting on?" This last allusion was to Macphail's passion for penny fiction, and particularly to a novelette story over which the engineer had once been foolish enough some years before to show great emotion. "I move," said Doogie, breaking in on what promised to be an unprofitable altercation. "I move that the tar be concurred." "Concurred," said the engineer with a contemptuous snort. "I suppose you mean censured." "It's the same thing, only spelled different," said the mate. "What's censured?" asked the captain. "It's giving a fellow a devil of a clowrin'," answered Doogie promptly. No, 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 I wouldn't care to do that to the tar. Maybe he's doing the best he can, poor chap. The tar never saw much high life before he came on my boat, and we'll have to make an allowance for that. Herring for breakfast 7 days a week. It's a fair scandal," said the engineer. "If you were master in your own boat, Macfarlane, you would have a very different kind of man making your meat for you." "There's not much that is wholesomer than a good herring," said Parahandy. "It's a fish that's just sublime. But I'll not deny it would be good to have a change now and then, if it was only a fin and haddy." "I have a cookery book of the wife's yonder at home I'll bring with me the next time we're in Glasgow, and it'll maybe give him a tip or two, said the engineer, and this was, in the meantime, considered the most expedient thing to do. Next trip, on the way to Brodick on a Saturday with a cargo of bricks, the tar was delicately approached by the captain, who had the cookery book in his hand. "That was a nice tender bit of tinned beef we had the day, Colin," he said graciously. "Capital altogether. I could live myself on tinned beef from one end of the year to the other, but Doogie and the engineer there's complaining that you're giving it to them too often. You'd think they were lords. But perhaps I shouldn't blame them, for the doctor told the engineer he should take something tasty every day, and Doogie's aye frightened for tinned meat since ever he heard that the engineer once killed a man in the Australian bush. What do you say yourself to trying something fancy in the cookery line?" "There's some people hard to please," said the tar. "I'm sure I'm doing the best I can to satisfy you all. Look at them red herrings I made this morning." "They were just sublime," said the captain, clapping him on the back. "But just try a change to keep their mouths shut. It'll only need to be for a little, for they'll soon tire of fancy things. I have a kind of cookery book here you might get some tips in. It's no mine, mind you, it's MacPhail's." The tar took the cookery book and turned over some pages with contemptuous and horny fingers. "A lot of nonsense," he said. "Listen to this. Take the remains of any cold chicken, mix with the potatoes, put in a pie dish, and brown with a salamander. Where are you to get the cold chicken? And where are you to take it? Fancy calling it a remains. It would be enough to keep you from eating chicken. And what's a salamander? There's no one in this vessel at any rate. It's just another name for cinnamon, but you could leave it out," said the captain. "Holy smoke, listen to this," proceeded the tar. "How to make clear stock. Take 6 or 7 pounds of knuckle of beef or veal, half a pound of ham or bacon, 1/4 pound of butter, 2 onions, 1 carrot, 1 turnip, half a head of celery, and 2 gallons of water. You couldn't sup that in a week. Small quantities, Colin," explained the captain. "I'm sorry to put you to bother, but there's no other way of pleasing them other fellows. There's no a thing in this book I would eat, except a fowl that's described here," said the tar, after a further glance through the volume. "The very thing," cried the captain, delighted. "Try a fowl for Sunday." And the tar said he would do his best. "I soon showed him who was skipper on this boat," said the captain, going aft to Doogie and the engineer. "It's to be fowls on Sunday." There was an old-fashioned cutter yacht at anchor in Brodick Bay, with a leg of mutton and 2 plucked fowls hanging openly under the overhang of her stern, which is sometimes even yet the only pantry a yacht of that type has, though the result is not very decorative. "Look at that," said the engineer to the tar as the vital spark puffed past the yacht. "There's sensible meat for sailors, no malleable mule. I'll bet you them fellows has a cook with all his wits about him." "It's all right, MacPhail," said the tar. "Just you wait till tomorrow, and I'll give you fancy cooking." And sure enough, on Sunday, he had 2 boiled fowls for dinner. It was such an excellent dinner that even the engineer was delighted. "I'll bet you that you made them hens ready out of the wife's cookery book," he said. "There's no a better cookery book on the south side of Glasgow, the genuine Aunt Kate's, and people come far and near for the len of that when they're having anything extra." "Where did you buy the hens?" inquired the captain, nibbling contentedly at the last bone left after the repast. "I didn't buy them at all," said the tar. "I couldn't have expected to buy chuckens on the money you allow me. For it doesn't say anything about buying in MacPhail's cookery book. It says, take 2 chickens and boil slowly. So I just had to take them." "What do you mean by that? asked Parahandy with great apprehension.
"I just went out in a wee boat late last night, and took them from the stern of yon wee yacht," said the tar coolie.
And a great silence fell upon the crew of the Vital Spark. "Tomorrow," said the captain emphatically at last, "tomorrow you'll have tinned meat, do you know that, Colin? And you'll never have chicken on the boat again, not if MacPhail was breaking his heart for it."